Barry Loser and the Birthday Billions. From the squidgy pink brain of Jim Smith. Barry's birthday. Cock-a-doodle-doo, screeched my baby brother, Desmond Loser II, from his bedroom next to mine. It was 6:17 a.m. on Saturday morning, not that minded because it's my birthday! I cried, jumping out of bed and running downstairs doing an excitement blow-off on every step. Happy birthday, my darling little snooky flumps, cooed my mum, cuddling me into her bright red fluffy dressing gown. Thanks Mumsy Wumsy, smiled, wriggling out of her cuddle and staring at the ginormous pile of presents sitting on our kitchen table. In the middle of the pile sat a huge box covered in shiny silver paper. Fandabby Keelness asterisk, cried, doing a bum wiggle dance until my pajama bottoms fell down. I knew exactly what was inside the box, a Schnozzinator 9000. I twizzled one of my eyeballs over to the present list I'd stuck on the fridge door 19 3/4 weeks before. It said 1. Another yellow hoodie. 2. No more boring questions about school. 3. A Schnozzinator 9000. My mom spotted me looking at the list. Ooh, that reminds me, she said. What did you do at school yesterday? Answer boring questions mostly, I said, giving myself a mini salute for being so funny. My mum did a face like a kangaroo eating a hedgehog and I dived into the presents, grabbing a squidgy jumperish feeling one. I was saving the Schnozzinator 9000 till last. Let me guess, a yellow hoodie? Smiled, ripping it open. I'm famous for wearing yellow hoodies, in case you didn't know. Inside the wrapping paper was a white polo neck jumper. Thought it'd make a change from all your yellow hoodies, chuckled my dad. Plus it's just like the one Wolf Tizzler wears in his adverts, said my mum, and I did a birthday eye roll because I'm completely bored of hearing my mum go on about Wolf Tizzler the whole time. Who's Wolf Tizzler? Wolf Tizzler is the annoying child genius who invented the zoomy broom, a new kind of broom with microscopic wheels on the ends of its bristles. Wolf Tizzler's always on TV doing adverts about how the microscopic wheels are supposed to make the zoomy broom go faster when you're sweeping up. I think my mum thinks Wolf Tizzler would be the most perfect son ever. Thanks Mum, thanks Dad, I said, not that I really wanted a white polo neck jumper. Don't thank us, it's from Desmond, said my dad. Thanks Desmond, I said, even though knew there was no way my baby brother had gone into a Fico's supermarket and bought me a Wolf Tizzler polo neck jumper all on his own. I reached down and patted him on the head. Me got a biscuit, shouted Desmond, who was sitting on the floor with his bum squidged into a potty. He took a bite of the dinosaur-shaped biscuit he was holding. Me not want biscuit, he spluttered, spraying bits of biscuit all over the kitchen tiles. No probbles, said my mum, grabbing her zoomy broom and sweeping the crumbs into a dustpan. Thanks to its microscopic bristle wheel technology, the zoomy broom is up to 90% faster than the next fastest broom on the market, she smiled. Isn't that what that Rolf Twizzler kid says in his adverts? Said my dad. Ooh, he's such a clever boy, cooed my mum. I'm clever too, said, yanking my white polo neck over my head. Look, I can hardly get this jumper, and what with my ginormous brain more like your ginormous nose, chuckled my dad, even though his nose is way bigger than mine. More rubbish prezzies. After that Elle opened all my other presents apart from the huge shiny silver one with the Schnozzinator 9000 inside. This is what Elle got. 1. A bright pink piggy bank from my granny Harumpadunk. 2. Wolf Tizzler's autobiography. How to be a genius like me, from my mum. 3. One of those build-your-own circuit board kits from my dad. Brillicules, I said, pretending I liked them all even though, 1. I don't have any money to put in a piggy bank. 2. Who wants to read a boring old book about a loserish child genius who loves brooms? 3. There was no way I'd be wasting my time building a stupid circuit board when I had a Schnozzinator 9000 to play with. The Schnozzinator 9000. You're probably wondering what a Schnozzinator 9000 is by now. It's this cool new gaming helmet that makes you feel like you've been transported to Schnozzville. Schnozzville is where future Ratboy lives, by the way. Future Ratboy is my favorite TV show. It's all about this cool kid who's been zapped millions of years into the future and transformed into a half-boy, half-rat, half-TV. Oh. My. Coolness. I said, ripping open the huge shiny silver present. Inside was a white cardboard box with Schnozzinator 9000 foot written on it in futuristic letters. A Schnozzinator 9000. Thanks, Mummy Puss. Thanks, Daddy Puss, asterisk I said, lifting it out of the box and slotting it over my head. Nothing happened. Why in the uncoolness aren't Elle in Schnozzville? I said, my nose beginning to droop. You've got to charge it up first, Barry, chuckled my dad, pulling a mile-long cable out of the box and plugging it into the wall. Oh yeah, I said, and my mum did a face that looked like she thought Wolf Tisler probably would have worked that out. I lifted the Schnozzinator 9000 off my head and plugged it into the other end of the cable, and a little green triangle lit up on the side. Schnozzinator 9000 charging, bleeped a robot-y voice. Time for a birthday wee, I said, plunking the Schnozzinator 9000 down on the kitchen table and walking off all happily towards the toilet. After did my birthday wee. That's what I call a fantastic heels birthday wee, I said, strolling out of the toilet. Now, let's see if my Schnozzinator 9000's charged up. I walked into the kitchen and froze. My Schnozzinator 9000 wasn't on the table where LD left it. Instead, there was a trail of white electric cable stretching from the plug socket through the archway into the living room. I followed the cable into the living room and froze again. Wah! I screamed. Desmond Loser II was sitting on the carpet in front of the telly, his bum squidged into my upside-down Schnozzinator 9000 like it was his potty. He was watching his favorite TV show, Clowny Wowney, and his face was very red. Desmond's face being very red is never a good thing. Operation Get Desmond's bum out of my Schnozzinator 9000 before he does a poo in it, I screamed, flying through the air like future Ratboy. I scooped Des out of the Schnozzinator 9000 and plunked him on the sofa, then twizzled round and stared down into my helmet. The good news was, he hadn't done a poo. The bad news was, he'd done a wee. The uncoolest wee ever. The worst thing about your little brother doing a wee into your brand new Schnozzinator 9000 before you've even managed to charge it up is that WE Comper literally breaks a Schnozzinator 9000. Oh Barry, said my mum, cuddling me into her dressing gown for the second time that morning. I wriggled out of my mum's dressing gown and looked at the little green triangle on the side of the helmet. It flickered, turned red, then fizzled out. Can you fix it, Dad? Whimpered, feeling like a little light had fizzled out inside my belly. Not sure I can, Barry, said my dad, peering into the Schnozzinator 9000. His face peered back up at him, reflected in the pool of wee. Can we take it back to Fico's then? I said. We could swap it for one that hasn't got wee all in it. My dad looked at me the way I look at my best friend Bunky when I feel sorry for how tiny his brain is. I don't think Fico's takes back Schnozzinator 9000's that V been weed into, Barry, he said. I stood still for a trillisecond as tried to work out what to do. Desmond was sitting on the sofa watching the telly with a grin on his face. Lying on the carpet was his cuddly Clowny Wowney, also doing a grin. My brain cells started to boil like a kettle. I walked over to Clowny Wowney and trod on its stupid belly. Then I bent down, grabbed its head and gave it a tug. Here's a fact about cuddly Clowny Wowneys you might not know, their heads rip off much easier than you'd think. Wah! Screamed Desmond Loser II as dropped Clowny Wowney's head into my Schnozzinator 9000 full of wee and stomped upstairs to bed. The end. Of chapter. The Great Birthday Telling Off. Barry Gary Larry Loser, what do you think you are doing? Said my mom, swinging my bedroom door open. I'm having a birthday nap, I said. Don't act clever with me, young man. I mean downstairs, said my mom, her eyebrows tilting into their angry positions. Ooh, now let me think, I said. I believe I was ripping Clowny Wowny's head off and dunking it in his owner's wee. Saying it out loud like that made me sound like a bit of a weirdo. I grabbed a pillow and squashed it over my head, wishing it was a Schnozzinator 9000 that'd zap me straight to Schnozzville. I know you're upset about your Schnozy what's it called, but that doesn't mean you can go around breaking other people's things, shouted my mom. But he broke my thing first. I screamed. I don't care, said my mom, grabbing my arm and marching me down the stairs again. Desmond's a baby, he doesn't know what he's doing. You're a big boy, Barry, you should know better. It's my birthday. Don't have to know better, cried. Can we go to Fico's, Mum? Please, can we get me another Schnozzinator 9000? We most certainly cannot, I'm not made of money, you know, said my mom. Now apologize to your little brother. Sorry I ripped Clowny Wowny's head off, even though you eat into my Schnozzinator 9000, grumbled. Desmond, who'd completely forgotten about Clowny Wowny, remembered Clowny Wowny and started to scream again. And you'll be sewing that head back on as soon as it comes out of the washing machine, my mum said to me. Excuse me while I do a massive yawn. Ooh, what a Brillikiel's birthday I'm having, I said, flomping down on the sofa. My dad did one of his funny faces to try and make me laugh. Why don't you play with your other presents, he said, stuffing one of Desmond's nappies into my Schnozzinator 9000 to soak up the wee. Oh what, like my boring old Wolf Tizzler book, mumbled. My mum looked sad for a millisecond, and I felt a bit bad. You could at least have a look, she said. Wolf Tizzler's a very clever young man, you might learn something. Oh, I'm so sorry you're loserish, big-nosed son isn't all perfect like your darling Wolf Tizzler, cried. Don't be silly, Barry, you know you'll always be my number one Snooky Flumps. Cooed my mom. Anyway, it's not like your schnozy what's-it's working, so you may as well give it a go. She passed me the book and plodded off into the kitchen to make a cup of tea. Stupid rectangular cuboid, said, opening it up and starting to read. And to my surprise he immediately gave me one of my brilliant and amazekiel ideas. Yellow jumper. Happy birthkeels to you, sang my best friends Bunky and Nancy working 2 hours, 18 minutes and 36 seconds later, when Elle opened the front door and saw them standing there. Did you get a Schnozzinator 9000? Grinned Bunky. Is it the keyless thing in the whole wide world, amen? Why aren't you wearing it right now? If I had a Schnozzinator 9000 LD, put it on and never take it off again for the rest of my life. I took a deep breath and opened my mouth. Desmond Loser II used it as a potty, so Elle ripped Clowny Wowny head off and dunked it in the wee, I said. I just sewed his head back on. Back to front. Nancy and Bunky gasped. I am so sorry, Barry, said Bunky, leaning forwards and giving me a hug, which was weird. I don't think Bunky's ever given me a hug before. Don't worry about it, I said, wriggling out of his weirdo hug. I'm completely over it. That's good, said Nancy, giving me a funny look because the last time something bad like that happened to me, it took about 9 years for me to recover. Nice polo neck, by the way, she smiled. You look like Wolf Tizzler. Bunky looked at my polo neck and scratched his bum. What are you doing with your yellow hoodie? He said. I'll put it back on later, said. I'm only wearing this because it's my birthday jumper. Can I wear it then? Said Bunky. Your yellow hoodie, I mean? I've always had the feeling Bunky secretly wanted my yellow hoodie, just from the way he looked at it. Now I knew LD been right all along. No. I said. Get your own yellow hoodie. I would if I could, said Bunky. But my mum keeps on buying these stupid stripy ones. He pointed down at his stripy jumper. It was true, LD never seen him wearing anything else. Tough luck, Stripey, I said. Nobody wears Barry Loserkeel's yellow hoodie apart from Barry Loserkeel, *. Bunky stomped his foot on the ground. My name isn't Stripey, he cried, as Nancy pointed at my book. What are you doing with that? She said. Bad news. It's my new Wolf Tisler book, I said, holding it up so they could read the title. I've just been reading it. You read a book? Said Bunky, screwing his face up like used wrapping paper. Well, the first chapter. I said. What in the Keelneys did you do that for? Said Bunky. I know, it's weird, I said. And what's even weirder is I'm actually quite enjoying it. Nancy rolled her eyes like a two-wheeled sellotape dispenser. Shock horror, she chuckled. Bunky, Nancy, LV got some bad news, said, completely out of the blue. Nancy's eyebrows tilted into their worried positions. What is it, Barry? Are you okay? Sorry, did say bad news? I meant good. I smiled. I was just trying to get your attention, it's one of Wolf Tisler's tricks. I held up the page in How to Be a Genius Like Me where Wolf Tisler talks about saying things like I've got some bad news to make people's ears prick up. So what's your news? Asked Nancy. I'm becoming an inventor, said, pulling at the neck of my polo neck. I don't know if you've ever worn a polo neck before, but it really clings to your neck. An inventor? What for? Said Bunky, already beginning to look bored. That's the thing with people like Bunky who've got tiny brains, they can't concentrate on things for more than 3 sentences. Let me fill you in while we take a stroll, I said, tucking my book under one arm and my bright pink piggy bank under the other. Birthday Barry. Cooey, Barry, cried my mum, running out of the house after us. Don't forget LV got your favorite dinner for tonight, fish fingers, chips and peas. I gave my mum a thumbs up, not wanting to tell her that hasn't been my favorite for about 3 years. Brillakeels! I shouted over my shoulder, just to keep her happy. Nice piggy bank, Barry. Laughed Bunky as we strolled up the street. It goes with your girl's phone, pulled my phone, which is pink and used to be my mum's, out of my pocket. Why does everyone think pink is for girls? I said. Some of the coolest things in the whole wide world are pink. Like what? Said Bunky. Bubble gum, strawberry milkshakes, the insides of eyelids? I said, running out of keel pink things ly quicker ly. Ooh, the insides of eyelids, they are so keel, laughed Bunky. I pressed a button on my phone. PLUVURRFFF, it rumbled, doing a blow-off right into his face. Pooey, sniggled Bunky, even though the noise hadn't smelled of anything. It was just this keel little app I'd downloaded that's got millions of different blow-off noises on it. I don't want to interrupt your important discussion about eyelids and blow-offs, but what exactly are we doing? Said Nancy. Yeah, Barry, said Bunky. Since when do you take strolls? It's something Wolf Tisler does, I said, tapping my book. It helps him think clearly. Ugh, Wolf Tisler. Sighed Bunky. My mum thinks he's the best thing since sliced bread. I chuckled to myself, wondering who invented sliced bread, then remembered LD forgotten to mention something important. Let's clear one thing up before we go any further, I said. Yeah, we know, smiled Nancy, nudging Bunky, and he pretended to fall off the curb into the road and down a drain. What? I said. Today's your birthday, which means your birthday, Barry, which means you can do whatever you like and we can't say anything about it, said Nancy. How did you know that? Grinned. Because you say it every birthday, laughed Bunky. I did a birthday sniggle and we all strolled along for about 7.5 footsteps. What I don't get, said Nancy, is why aren't you more upset about your Schnozenator 9000 being weed into? I smiled to myself all mysteriously, mostly because that's what Wolf Tisler says you should do on page 17 of his book. It makes people think you've got something interesting to say. The reason is this, I said, stopping still suddenly and shooting my hands up in the air. I'm gonna become a billionaire and buy myself a new one. A bird cheeped in a tree, sounding a bit like it was doing a TADA. Barry loser, a billionaire, laughed Bunky. How in the name of unkeelness is that ever gonna happen? Easy. I just have to come up with an invention like the zoomy broom. I said. How hard can it be? Very, said Nancy. Put my hands on Nancy's shoulders and stared into her eyes, which is something Wolf Tisler says you should do to make people concentrate on what you're saying. Nancy, 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 I smiled. How long have we known each other? Too long, said Nancy. Exactly, said. And you still don't realize? I'm a child genius, Nancy, just like Wolf Tisler. Do you know how many brilliant and amaze-keel ideas LVE had? Bunky started counting on his fingers. He's right, Nancy. Barry's had a lot of brilliant and amaze-keel ideas. There's a difference between calling your ideas brilliant and amaze-keel and them actually being brilliant and amaze-keel, said Nancy. Bunky did his confused face, which is just his normal face. Look, we can all stand here wasting our time talking about whether I'm a child genius or not, I said. Hid genius note a ling at the agree that I am one and get on with making £1 billion. Nancy chuckled to herself. Come on then, birthday Barry, she said. I'm in. The neck of my polo neck really was clinging to my neck. The Slug Busters. Opened how to be a genius like me to page 12 and started reading out loud. The first job of being an inventor is to find a problem to solve, I said. Nancy took her glasses off and cleaned them on her jumper. We need a problem to solve. Wah! Slug. Hey, don't call me Wah Slug, said. Then I looked down at Nancy's shoe and saw a slug slithering across it like a slimy zombie eyebrow. There's another one, cried Bunky, pointing at another slug, sitting on a leaf that was sticking out of a tree next to my head. It's an invasion. I screamed, pretending to run off like Future Rat Boy in my favorite Future Rat Boy episode, Future Rat Boy and the Invasion of the Nom Noms. Nancy plucked the slug off her shoe and plopped it down in the front garden we were standing next to. The lawn was covered in millions of big fat slugs, chomping on the grass. I've heard about this, it's something to do with the unseasonably warm winter we just had, said Nancy, peering through her glasses at the lawn. The slugs didn't hibernate, they just kept eating and getting fatter and having more babies. How do you know all this stuff? Bunky, peeking into Nancy's earhole to get a look at her brain. The Mobden Gazette, said Nancy. Don't you read newspapers? Me and Bunky laughed. No, Nancy, I don't read newspapers, he said. Aloni, back to my ing and ting a billionaire, direction of Mobden High Street. We need to find a problem to solve. 2 old grannies were walking towards us at -7 mm/h. Ooh, these slugs are a menace, Ermintrude, warbled the one on the right, who had moles dotted all over her face like squidgy brown full stops. Tell me about it, Gladys, said Ermintrude. She was bent over in half so that her face faced the floor, which must be made it easier for her to spot slugs. They're avaying a field day with me begonias. Ooh, me begonias, warbled Bunky, doing an impression of Ermintrude, and we all sniggled. Ooh, me begonias. I warbled as well, and Bunky and Nancy stopped sniggling. Oi, why aren't you laughing? I said, pulling at the neck of my polo neck again. Sorry, Barry, your voices just aren't as funny as Bunky's, said Nancy, and Bunky nodded, looking all pleased with himself. The old grannies waddled off round the corner and Nancy blinked. Not that she hadn't been blinking anyway. Hang on a millicules, I think LVE got it, she said. Got what, slug-shoitis? Sniggled Bunky, putting his hand up for me to high-five, but I just ignored him. What is it, Nancy? I said, even though I really should have been in a mood with her for saying my voices weren't as funny as Bunky's. The slugs, if we could come up with an invention that got rid of all the slugs in everyone's gardens, we'd be billionaires. Slug pellets. I don't want to ruin your birthday party or anything, but you have heard of slug pellets, right? Said Bunky, and Nancy and me stopped doing the little dance we'd been doing.